right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Ronald Gordon with Texas in Color. I'm just getting there. There we go. We're live all over the place. I got Justin Parker here with us today, and we're going to talk about the election results and things coming up for Texas. And I was telling Justin that I think a lot of people are still in shock and at awe. They don't know exactly what hit them. So, Justin, you want to take it from here, sir?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. Um, and so first, I want to say, thank you to the volunteers. Thank you to the voters for turning out and actually voting. While this election may not have gone in favor of what many of us expected, the fact that you showed up and that you casted your ballot, that you took a part in this democracy, and you took a part in making sure that we don't give up the fight. And I want to thank the candidates as well for running amazing campaigns. Some of them they didn't come through and pull out the victory, but I hope that they continue to stay in the fight. For the next 4 years, and that they decide to throw their hats back in the ring to run again, because we had some amazing candidates
Yes.
this year, and I think you know we saw a lot of support behind them. We saw a lot of movement behind them. A lot of these candidates, they gave us hope, and the communities that they built around them gave a lot of us, especially as young people, hope for the future. Um, and so I just want to thank everybody for taking their time out, for phone banking, text banking, for calling, for knocking on doors, for donating to some of these candidates. And it's not the time to bow out. I know a lot of us, we might be feeling, anger, frustration, disappointment. But the fight is not over. We heard Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, yesterday, in her speech, and she said, while we might concede the race, we don't concede in a fight. And so we're going to continue, and we're going to continue to stay involved. We're going to continue to mobilize. We're going to continue to make sure that we're pushing the needle, and that we're figuring out the issues as to where we went wrong in this election, so that way we can actually turn this thing around. Everybody's talking about 2028. The work starts now. We have to set our eyes on 2026, for the midterms, and we have to take a really close look at where we went wrong as a party and what we can do better.
So, what do you think that we went wrong at? Because I thought all the things that we were talking about, we were hitting all the key issues and everything that we felt that the people wanted to know, and we were hitting them. I mean, somebody point blank sat up and told me we wasn't ruthless enough. We're the kind party. We wasn't really getting out there and really hitting the hard thing. I mean, just coming hard at them. Like somebody said the Democrat Party was playing too nice.
Yeah, so I think to that, the Democratic Party, we you know we ran our campaign constantly attacking Trump, constantly attacking Project 2025. Unfortunately, a lot of these voters, they don't understand, or they didn't really truly know the implications that Project 2025 is going to have on them, and unfortunately, you're about to find out, and you're about to feel the results of that. But when you take a look at our messaging as a party, when you take a look at um, our strategies and the way that we ran, you can't you know you can't win when you're just constantly bashing the other side. You have to find voters where they're at. You have to meet them exactly where they're at. As we saw in the exit polls, one of the biggest things that was a big issue to voters was the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And people, they think that the economy was better under Trump, and some things they might have been, but however, you see President Biden and Vice President Harris, and you see the economy is slowly getting better. It's getting better. And when Trump takes office, a lot of people are going to say, and they're going to try to credit Trump, and they're going to say, "Oh, well, look at what he's done so far. Look at the economy now." No, what you're going to see on the economy getting better is the direct result of Vice President Harris and President Biden's administration on enacting these things before leaving office. You see, we have 74 days left of this administration, and they're going to continue to go to work to make sure that you know that there's some hope and that there's something that they're still working towards for the American people. Um, but you have to really take a look of our digital, our social media. Um, that is where we would be at. Like you look at where we're at as far as our digital outreach, and content creators. You look across, you know, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all these places, podcasts, radio shows, everything. The majority of those people that are the most followed, that has the most streams, are Republicans. They're your conservatives. They're constantly on air. They're constantly getting their message out. They're constantly talking to their base. And so that is something that we have to look at going forward, and seeing how can we implement and how can we get more of our people in these spaces, so that way we are constantly on the airways. We are constantly getting out our message. We are constantly talking to the issues that matter most to our base. Because when you look at some of our Democratic voters, some of them, a lot of them stayed at home, and we have to ask ourselves why. Why did we stay at home? Well,
Yeah.
you look at some of the issues, and they weren't addressed. They were not addressed in these campaigns, and so we have to really look at how can we make sure that we're addressing the top things that we as Black voters care about, um, because if we're not addressing that in our messaging, if we're not addressing that in our platform, if we're not addressing that in our strategy, they're going to stay at home, or they're going to vote for the other side. Because um, one of the biggest things that that I've heard a lot of is that, um, especially amongst us as Black voters, is that when it comes to religion, you have one side that's out there, selling Bibles, and he's talking directly to the believers, and he's drawing in that base, talking to the churches. And meanwhile, when you look at some of the issues that the Democratic Party stands for, um, there's a disconnect between and sometimes it turns Black voters off. And sometimes it could be that one policy issue, that one specific issue. And and it's like, we care about everybody. We care about making sure that everybody's protected, that we have an America that is a viable living, um you know society for everyone, from LGBTQ, from our minorities, from immigrants. We try to make sure that we have a just society, and that we have a welcoming society for everyone. And so we have to really look at how can we draw in those voters, because some of them, they don't realize, and it's so unfortunate, they don't realize that party is so full of hate. You look at Donald
Mm-hmm.
Trump. He is so full of hate. He does not stand for you. And you see some of the LGBTQ community, they're going out and voting for him. You see some of our Black voters, they're going out and voting for him, and they don't understand it's within the policy. That's when he has that pen in his hand, he's not thinking about us first. He's not thinking about us, and how is it going to make us better as people. He is not thinking about us.
Yeah. You brought up something about social media and everything. Nowadays, when I was growing up, you had to have three reliable sources before you ran a story. Now with social media, you could blatantly put out a lie and continue to say it, and people are going to believe it. And this is what's going on. But on the hindsight of this, give it a little time, and they're going to find out who's blowing out all that smoke. And not only is he's already affecting the middle class. That's
Yeah.
a gimme right there. I was on the show this morning that I got sort of upset. I got upset when I said, "Look here, here you are talking about the stock market. Here you are talking about bitcoins. Here you are talking about how the rich is doing this. Not one word was mentioned about the middle class, which support this country." He turned a blind eye to the middle class and the poor. Like, okay, they gonna do as I say anyway. I'm the president. You can't keep on doing that. And that really got me pissed off this morning. I was on with a Republican this morning, and it really pissed me off saying, but what about the middle class? What about the working class? What about the entrepreneurs out there, the small businesses out there? Y'all just push us to the side like we're not even there until tax season come around. Then you want our taxes to help support this country.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate because I hear so many people say that they voted for him because they believe that they're going to get another stimulus, and I'm like it's just so it's so dumbfounded, and I'm like I don't get where you think let's be real, like the stimulus checks that were passed, that wasn't a result of him. Yes, he might have been the sitting president at the time, but that was not a result of him. That was the result of Democrats that was in the House and the Senate doing the work to make sure that that was passed and passing these protections for us. um and it's so unfortunate. Like you don't hear him have a set policy or set plan for how he's going to make sure that housing is back to being affordable for us, and
Mm-hmm.
how we're going to build up a supply of housing. You don't hear that from him. Vice President Harris, she laid out a clear plan and a clear initiative. She had a whole black male agenda for the economy that she wanted to implement. And so a lot of these folks, they're truly about to feel the brunt of this. Just saw the report that came out the other day, that after he won the election, that now you have your top 10 billionaires that got $64 billion richer after him winning the election.
Mm.
And so it's it clearly shows, immediately, that that he's not someone that's for us. He's not someone that's going to carry our values and carry our beliefs and carries our struggles in his everyday mindset when he's going out there and he's signing these executive orders, or when he's out there calling on Congress and the Senate to pass certain legislation. It's not going to be us. We're not going to be at his mindset.
No, but we still may have a chance for the House because that's still up in the air right now. Who,
Yeah.
what party is going to run the House, and if the Democrats choose and win that, that's going to put a little fly in the ointment for him to do what he wants to do. Won't be able to steamroll everything.
Yeah. And I'm out, and votes have not been finished counted yet. Even I've even heard that in Pennsylvania for the Senate race, that they still have votes to count. And I'm really hopeful that we're able to pull through, and finally, you know, get Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, because yeah, we're not going to play around. If we end up taking the House, and I'm believing that we will, but if we end up taking the House, then we at least have one of our chambers that's going to at least keep them in check.
Yeah,
um and it's kind of fascinating, to hear, even after the election, and hearing so much frustration. I hear a lot of young people that are reaching out to organizations trying to figure out how can they run for office, how can they get involved,
yeah,
because they want to stand up uh, to them and make sure that they're in check. So you might see a lot of newer and young faces, not only that's running for office, but in the Democratic Party, because they want to make sure that we're at the table.
So, what do we need to do as a party? We got election coming in 2 years, which is the governor. Well, and rumor has it that Trump may pick him to come to on one of his cabinets. And then, if that happens, then the lieutenant governor will be governor until the election time come around. So, what can we do right now to? It's 2 years, and that's what we need is 2 years. We need to go ahead and start motivating people to run for office, to vote, re-educate everybody all over again. Keep on pushing that education in about the agenda. How can we go about that to do it? To make sure that we get the right people running, and better yet, winning.
So I think, first things first is, you ha- you have to address the inside. And so I think, like, we've already seen reports about, the DNC chair, you know, not seeking reelection. I think that's a good I think that's good. We thank Jamie Harrison for the work he's done for the party, but I definitely do believe that it's time for a fresh face, and that it's time for us to modernize as a party, modernize our strategy, modernize our plan, modernize the way that we move forward. And then the same thing here directly in the state. We heard it earlier today. Chairman Hinojosa, he's going to resign come March of 2025 after the next SDEC meeting. Um, and I think that's a time for us to take a crucial look inside of who's going to be the lead of the party, to make sure that that we have a plan, that we know that we are strongest going forward. Um, Now, as far as us as people, we have to stay involved, and we have to make sure that, hey, if you see some of your county chairs, they're stepping down, you see some of your precinct chairs stepping down, you see that, get involved, join, make sure that you are part of the process, make sure that you are there. If you're thinking about run for office, I encourage you to run for office. I encourage you to begin that process and looking now. um go to runforsomething.org. There's a whole list of different offices that you can look at running for. Make sure that you know what's going to be on the ballot in 2026. Because, like you said, it's going to be that governor's race, but on top of that is also going to be our the Senate race.
Mm-hmm.
We have already heard, John Cornyn, he's looking at trying to run for Senate Majority Chair. um we need to take a good look and seeing, make sure that we have the right people that are going to be going out running for those offices. um Look at your congressional offices, look at your fully down ballot, and making sure that we have the right
Yeah.
people in those positions. It's up to us as a party to going out and recruiting the best viable candidates to run for those positions. But because we can't continue to go down the same path that we've gone down. And we have to make sure that we have new candidates that, that that align to what we're seeing, where the base is saying, hey, this is what's important. Hey, this is how I vote. This is what matters to me the most. We need to find those candidates that stand up for those issues, because if not, you're going to see that same disconnect all over again.
So let me ask you something. Find the candidates. I would love to see a lot of youth play and get involved because I'm an older black man, but I'm open minded. I'm not closed minded. We want somebody old in there doing no, 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 no. That's not working anymore. We need fresh minds, fresh ideas. We need to get it going. And so that's gonna be a stumbling block for the youth because you got some elderly folks, oh, he's too young or she's too young. They don't know what they're talking about. How can we overcome that to let them know this person is right, regardless of his age? He is right or she is right for the job.
Well, I think it truly shows, and just the results of this election. You look at the demographics of, the voting bloc that showed out to vote, um, and who carried and pushed the needle for Trump to win. And unfortunately, that was your older folks that were going out there and voting for him. You see young people. We showed up to the polls. You saw the lines at University of Houston and some other college campuses, and you see
Yeah.
that they showed up and they showed out. Um, and then when you look at these young candidates, you see that they've been out here doing the work, and that they, even though they're told to wait their turns, they still go out and they're still doing the work. Um, and I give a major shout out to someone like Isaiah Martin out in Houston. Him and Josh Martin, they're both out there continuously doing the work, making sure that young people are educated, that more young people are getting engaged, and they actually are standing up for the issues that we care about. Um, and so I think it's time for us, as some of our older leaders of the party, to look and see, hey, okay, while we might not agree with some of the things that you all are saying, we need to find out, okay, how can we mentor? How can we teach? How can we train y'all so that way, hey, this is what we're doing, so that way we as young people, we can see the full picture. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of our older elected officials, our older Democrats, they've been around for a while, and so we thank them for even just opening those doors for us, and so they really have to reach out and see, hey, let us train the next generation because they're not going to be here forever,
Yeah.
and when they're not here, then we're stuck and we're in panic and we're looking at, okay, who's next. It's time for us to build the bench. It's time for us to train up that bench and
Yes.
invest in the youth because we are the future, and we're going to continue to be here, and we're going to continue to show out. We're going to continue to mobilize. We're going to continue to stay involved. A lot of young people, yes, we're hurt, but we're not discouraged. We know that it's a season and it's a reason for everything,
Hmm.
and we're gonna end up learning what is that reason, but we're gonna end up staying involved, and we're gonna continue to push that needle until we see a future and a society that we want to see.
You was asking what you were saying about the voting block. 18 to 29, 55% voted for Harris. 30 to 44, 51% voted for Harris. Here is a voting block. 45 to 64, 53% voted for Trump. That voting block right there. So that is the rest of it was for Harris, 65 and older for Harris. But it was at 45 to 64 years old. Um, that's some baby boomers in there, thinking the old way, and they knew what it was growing up on how they did things. Now, it's not broken down on what race. It's not broken down if it's black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It's just the raw numbers right here. So he reached those folks that turned around and don't want to change. They want to go back, leave things the same. He reached those people, and those are the ones that came out and voted for him to push him over the hump. So he did things. Um, I'm just bewildered on how the ad came out about transgenders. All of a sudden, that wasn't nowhere to be said. Then all of a sudden, it was a hot topic. Everybody across the country was doing it. Every candidate. And then, like you said, they went for the religion side of it. I don't think that man ever stepped foot in a church, to be honest with you, going to church. But he managed to get those people by saying that he's doing this for y'all. And he had the nerve to say God. And no, God had nothing to do with you winning this election. I had to tell somebody that it wasn't God's choice. It was your choice. So don't bring God in on this. That's just my opinion. It got a little heated between me and this guy when he brought that up about religion. And you know what the old saying is, state and religion should not mix together. But somewhere along the line, that was forgotten.
Yeah, and it's completely disgusting seeing that the ads that were ran, and it was being ran left and right from even some candidates that weren't even running for reelection, in this cycle. I saw a ad on my TV that came on by Greg Abbott, and him attacking Colin Allred, and it was just like it's like we're continuing to pour more hatred into our communities,
Yep.
and we saw that day one right after the election results came out on Texas State's campus. You saw groups that were out there organizing and just spewing hatred on campus, saying women are my property. You saw them on campus saying homosexuality is a sin, and it was just disgusting. I know some of my friends have received text messages um, that have said, hey, you know President Trump has selected you to show up to pick cotton, and it's like,
Yeah.
they're the party of hatred, and it's like, and I just hate that it's so many people that fell for it, and they fell right into the trap, and they're about to find out, and but it's just sad. It's sad, and I know so many people who are distraught and they're scared and they're looking at, where can they go? I and
Yeah.
it's sad because so many of my peers, they've talked about, okay, do I move to California? Do I move to New York because I will feel safer there? And it's just disheartening to hear that.
And he made these entitled people more entitled to say they wanted to say to you out in public. I have never seen so much rudeness of people come up and talking to you any way they want. And no, there's been some times when somebody said something and they're laying on the ground. I don't condone violence, but they're so boldly entitled to say, well, I can say what I want to say. All because Trump's saying what he want to say. He got a megaphone. He used that megaphone wisely. And now he's got people out there say, well, if he can say it, I can say it. And they're doing it.
Yeah, they feel emboldened by him, and they feel like they can get away with everything. I mean, you look at him, and it makes no sense to me still how we end up having a presidential candidate who is a convicted felon that went out and won this election. It makes no sense to me how someone had 34 counts, and you still have 71 million Americans that's going out there to go vote for him. It makes no sense. It's like, where does our morals, lie? Like, at what point do you do you give up on what you believe in and your values? And it's like, how are you going to explain this to your children? How are you going to explain this to the future generations to come, that you went out and you voted for someone like that, someone that that incited violence on our capital, and he got away with it, and
Yep.
it makes no sense to me. With voter intimidation, all these claims of voter fraud, and all this spewing of misinformation, and people still went out here to go vote for him, and it absolutely blows my mind. Like, at what point do you draw the line?
Line. Yes, I
And
agree
it's
with you.
it's not only the same thing with him. You look at Ted Cruz as well, someone that abandoned our state, that abandoned Texans, someone that also spews hate into our communities, someone that sat up there and talked badly about the man that y'all elected to become president, but yet y'all reelect both of them blindly. For what? For your loyalty to a party, that spews hatred out into our communities, a party that continues to divide us as people, a party that doesn't look like America.
No, you're absolutely right on that. It does not. You look at some of the rallies. You may see a few blacks in that rally, but it's not America. Well, not our America. That's their America that they want. And all I'm gonna say, I would like people to take a snapshot of the economy and everything else the way it is now, and come back in a year later and see where we at. Because they said some of the changes going to made is going to hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt the middle class. It's going to hurt the poor. It's not going to hurt them. While we're hurting, they're making money.
Yep.
So I advise everybody, take a snapshot of where everything is right now and compare it a year from now, and ask yourself, are you better off?
Yeah, and we sit up here and we talk about Trump wanting to implement on day one the mass deportation across the country. That we as American people, the working class people, we're going to feel the brunt of that, because I mean, when you look at our agricultural uh, lands and stuff like that, like, who's going to be out here working these jobs? Who's going to be out here that's actually that's out here doing the everyday things that
Mm-hmm.
we as Americans do? And you're going to see such a lack in services. You're going to see such a lack, and so many different things all over the country, and people are going to be like, how did this happen? And our immigrants, they're the backbone. They built this country. They helped build this country with us. And so it's sad, and you listen to some people and they're like, I voted for Trump, even if that meant that my mother-in-law is no longer going to be here. Like,
Yeah.
and it just kind of blows my mind. I'm just like, I I don't know.
Say the morals are gone. Because I don't know if I heard this right. Correct me if I'm wrong, he wants to get rid of all the illegal people here. He also talked about even the ones who's already naturalized. He want to get rid of them too. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, yeah. He wants to not only go towards the people that came across illegally, but also if they have kids and if they had, a spouse um that ended up that was born after them, or anything like that, like down from, your grandmothers to the next one, that they could have been born in Texas, they could have been born in New York. He wants to get rid of them, and it's just, it makes no sense, and people know this, and that's the thing that surprised me the most, is that people knew this going into this election,
Mm-hmm.
and they still got up here and they voted this way.
Well, I feel the first people to get rid of is Donald Trump. He married two people, and so and JD Vance family on his wife's
Yep.
side. If they're gonna deport anybody, let those two be first.
Yep.
But they're not talking. They talking about people of color
Yeah.
to deport. So, which JD Vance wife is not white. He came up and said, "My wife is not white." Duh, we knew that. Why you got to say it? So the deportation is going to hit very, very hard when it does, and when it hits, he's going to do the same thing he did his first time in office. There's kids out there right now from Mexico don't know where the mom and dad is. So that's going to happen
Yeah.
all over again. I see it. So, what do we need to do as a people, as a party? I know we talked about getting out there early and running for office. Get it out there, let them know what you're going to. But our tactics need to change on how we're going to approach this and how we're going to get new voters in. Because we need new voters. We got the voters already. We know it's going to show up. We need to tap for the new voters and the ones who didn't vote. So how are we going to light a spark up under them to get them going in this off-year election, as they call it?
Yeah. So first, you have to stay up to date. You have to stay informed as to what's going on. And so, like in January, and here in Texas, we're going to have, the state legislative go back into session. With that, you have three new state representatives that are going to be joining, um, here within the Black Caucus, and that's, Aisha Davis, Charlene Ward Johnson, and Lauren Ashley Simmons. We need to make sure that we are staying up to date with all of our Black elected officials. That we need to make sure that we are staying up to date as to what's going on in the Capitol, what's going on in our districts, and that we're supporting them in every best way possible. This year we also have a new leadership team that's going in with the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, with State Representative Barbara Dravine Hawkins, now serving as our chair. We need to make sure that we are supporting her, and anything that the caucus needs going into the session, that we are there. And so the way that we can do that is that anytime that you see an issue that's going to directly affect our communities, you sign
Mm-hmm.
up to submit public testimony. You sign up to share your story and your experience that's happening in your district, and you come to Austin, and you go and you testify at the Capitol. And even if you can't make it to the Capitol, you can submit written testimony. And so we need to make sure that we are talking, that we are speaking out as to the things that are actually affecting us here as Black folks in Texas, in our districts, and that we're helping our representatives, advocate for us directly in this upcoming session. Um, and then directly within our party, we need to make sure that, I think now is the time more than ever before, for us. You look at Chairman Hinojosa's message and his resignation letter. He said that he wants to pass the torch to the next generation. I think that that's an amazing thing. Um, that he's basically saying, it's time for us to look at somebody younger. It's time for us to modernize as a party. That needs to be a message that's spread across our country. If we have older state chairs, older county chairs, older precinct chairs, we need to truly take a look at ourselves and saying, hey, what we're doing is it working? If it's not, what let's do this for the better of the party, and let's step aside and let's train up these young folks to step in. Let's train up these people that we told to wait our turns, to step in and actually mobilize, because we need to make sure that we modernize as a party here in
Yeah.
Texas. It has already been said. She announced it not too long after Chairman Hinojosa, you know, said that he's going to resign. Our Vice Chair Kathy Ward, she did announce her intention to run for chair and to be considered for chair to fill out the remainder of that term. I think we need to truly take a look and make sure that we can support her,
Yes.
as a Black caucus, as Black Democrats, that we support her, because she's been out here doing the work. She's been out here doing the work for candidates, not only at the top of the ticket, but in down ballot races. She ran a whole campaign, in her position as vice chair, a down ballot campaign, where she was, focusing on different races across the state, for state senator, for state representatives, for even some of our county officials. And we need to make sure that we are supporting her, because she was out here doing the work. She was out here knocking on doors. She was out here calling. She was out here texting people, making sure they get out to vote. She was out here doing the work. She's been doing the work since she first became vice chair. She's been doing the work since before then. She worked for Senator Royce West. She's been out actively advocating for everybody within our party. And so we need to make sure that us as a caucus, us as Black Democrats, that we support her in every way possible, because she's younger. She's going to bring fresh new visions. She's
Yes.
going to bring a new hope. And I believe that is the right direction that we should go. Obviously, this is early speaking on and not knowing who else may throw their hat in the ring, but I truly do believe that as of right now, we know that Vice Chair Vice Chair Kathy Ward is running for chair, and I think we should do everything in our power to support her.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what I like to do down the road before the year is over with is have a couple of panels put together for us, you and a couple others, so we could discuss this, so we could also let everybody know, educate everybody what's coming up in Austin in January, and we got to get the word out. We like I said, we're not there now with the Democrat votes in there, but we can at least put the word out, put some pressure on them. You got to do
Absolutely.
right, and their right is completely wrong in my opinion, because they all vote for the, I don't get it. They all get together and collaborate. You could be a new person in office, but you told you're gonna vote like this. What happened for the people that put you in office and you go by your district where you came from? What happened to that? Now it's you in this party and this is what you vote for. You don't vote your conscience anymore.
Yep.
Oh man, I tell you, that's something else. All right, Mr. Parker, you want to leave us with some good words before we get out of here?
Yes, sir. So, now is the time for us to truly not be discouraged. We have to stay in this fight. We have to continue to stay engaged. I urge everybody to stay engaged, stay in this fight, because while we might not have won today, that victory is in sight for us. And we can see the light. And that light, it might have dimmed a little bit, but it's still there. That doesn't mean it's gone. And so we still have hope. We have hope for, our party to listen to the needs of us as young people. We have hope for the party to listen to the needs of us as Black folks here in Texas. We have hopes that we can create change, and we will create change. But it's up to us staying in this fight. It's up to us to make sure that we are going to continue to push the needle, and that we're going to continue to push the throttle forward. So, and if you wish that you would have done more, now is the time to join, and now is the time to get involved. Now is the time to stay active, stay informed. And yes, I'm very open to us having these panels, because it's going to be good for us to educate a lot of these folks that don't know what is going on, that don't know, um, like we might know, as to what's going on and how it's affecting us every day. But and it's up to us to continue to push that message. It's up to us to educate people, because when you even look at the just like the demographic of people who voted, who voted for Trump, majority of them that voted for Trump, 65% of them never attended college. 54% of them attended college and didn't receive a degree. Meanwhile, the people that voted for Vice President Harris, 62% of them went on not only to get a bachelor's, but have some sort of advanced degree. And so we have to really make sure that our folks are educated on the issues, educated on the policy, educated on the candidates, and educated what's going to be on the ballot. Because it's a long history of suppression, to our folks here, and we need to make sure that people who are not who eyes are not open to this, that they're finally becoming educated, and that they see, hey, man, I failed in 2016, I failed in 2024, I wasn't aware, but hey, now I know, and I know that my vote, it matters so much more than what I think it did. And so it's up to us to continue to just go out there and educate these folks. And so I encourage folks, that sat this election out, that you actually you read and you make sure that you stay up to date as to what's going on. You make sure that you are there and that you're listening. As soon as our state legislatives go in session, as soon as Congress goes back into session, that you're paying attention to what's going on, what's going to be on the floor, what's in those policies, that you're actually pulling up and you're reading the documents, because all of that is accessible to us as the public. Right. We can read everything that they're introducing, and you know what? Yes, when you see that President Trump and that the Republicans are going in here and they're introducing something that you didn't think that they were going to do, and that you were like, oh, I would not have voted for this. That when you read those policies, you call up your elected officials, you call up your members of Congress, you call up your senators, and you ask them to vote against that. You start asking different organizations, start spreading that support, start spreading that awareness, because we have to hold them accountable. We have to hold them accountable. It's going to be a long 4 years, but we got this. And y'all stay involved, because 2026 is not too far away from us. We're almost in 2025. Next year, you're about to start seeing candidates that starts announcing that, hey, they're running for Congress. Hey, they're running for this and that.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to support them when the time comes. And for candidates, make sure that you are staying true to your base. Make sure that you are seeing what is being said in this election and where we fell off at, and that you're actually educating yourself and making sure that you're building an agenda and a policy and a platform that's addressing everything that we missed. Make sure that you are showing up to our communities, because that is another thing that we missed in this cycle. Some of these candidates, they didn't come to our communities. They didn't meet us where we were at. You have to meet the voters where they're at. If they're at the barbershops, go to the barbershops. If you know they're at the mall, go to the mall. If you know that their kids are playing in Friday night football, make sure that you are there, because you have to meet them where they're at. If you don't meet them where they're at, they're never going to get up. They're never going to go out and support you. So you have to show up. And in our community, it's about seeing the candidates, not just about seeing them on TV or listening to them on the radio or seeing them on social media. It's about seeing them in person, actually having those conversations with them, roundtable discussions, things like that, to where you can ask questions and you're making sure that, hey, you're hearing the issues. If you're running in Texas 21, if you're running in these different districts, that you're actually listening to the voters in your district and hearing their concerns, and that you're making sure that your policy is going to be inclusive of the concerns that your voters are raising to you. So we have to make sure that we are adjusting. We can't continue. If we see that something's not working, we have to fix it.
Right.
And so I do believe that there's a lot of hope going into the future. We need to make sure that we're supporting our elected officials. We see something we don't like, we call it out. We say, hey, that's not all right. Let's make sure that we are fighting back, we are bouncing back, and that we're using our voice. Because this election, it didn't go in the result of our favor, but that doesn't stop it just at the ballot box. That continues. We can make sure that we use our written testimony, that we can make sure that we're here in Austin and that we're testifying. We can make sure that we're in DC and that we're protesting when they're trying to pass a national abortion ban, and that's going to affect your younger daughters, your little sisters. We can make sure that we're mobilizing and that we're organizing, because we're not going anywhere. The fight to make sure that we put an end to gun violence continues. The fight to make sure that we're standing up, and that we're advocating for affordable housing continues. The fight for our veterans continues. The fight for America is still here and it's still into play.
Right.
So it didn't stop on November 5th, and I hope you stay involved for the next 2 years, for the next 4 years to come, because we're looking and we're going to make sure that we have a strategy, and we're going to make sure that we have a strong approach going into the next couple of years, because we have to hold them accountable.
Exactly to that. All right, Mr. Parker, I appreciate you coming on. Man, it's a lot. It's a lot going on, and we got to continue to fight. It's just not over yet. It's just what's the old saying? We may not won the war, but we still got a battle on. No matter what happens, we still have to push forward, because our ancestors fought for us to have the right to vote. And we cannot disappoint our ancestors.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. And we will talk to you down the line. All right.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. All right.
Record.
All right, everybody. That was Justin Parker here on Texas in Color. We appreciate everybody tuning in today, and we'll catch everybody next week. So have a great week.